Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we are going to be tackling a topic that's, I think we can all agree, is both super romantic and kind of controversial. Soulmates. Are they real? Or are they just, a nice dreamy myth? We've got a whole stack of sources here from history and psychology and even some biology to help us unpack this age-old question.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating debate. And to kick things off, we kind of have to go way back in time. One of our sources talks about ancient Greece and Plato's idea that humans originally had not two arms and two legs, but four. Four arms, four legs, and two faces.
Wait a second, four arms?
Yeah, I
Even-
know, right? But it gets crazier. So the gods were afraid of how powerful humans were, so they split them in half. And now, according to Plato, we're all just wandering around trying to find that missing other half, our soulmate.
Okay, well, that's a pretty powerful image. Makes sense why this whole soulmate thing has been around for so long. But let's skip ahead a few centuries. How does modern psychology see soulmates?
Well, it turns out that believing too strongly in that one predestined soulmate might actually backfire.
Backfire. How so?
Well, think about it. If you're convinced that there's only one right person out there for you, and your relationship hits a rough patch, you might just give up too easily.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's like, well, this must not be my soulmate because things are hard right now.
Yeah, exactly. Some psychologists call that a destiny belief. You see a relationship as either meant to be or not. There's no room for growth. But there's another way to look at it. Researchers call this a growth belief. This is the idea that relationships take effort. You have to nurture them even if you felt a super strong connection at the beginning.
So instead of always searching for a flawless, predestined match,
Yeah.
it's more about finding someone you're compatible with and working to help the relationship grow.
Yeah, it seems that way. And what's interesting is that science is starting to agree. Research on relationships is showing that those fulfilling partnerships that last a really long time, they're often built on compatibility and shared values, and you know it. Ongoing effort. It's not just about some cosmic connection.
Okay, so we've got history and psychology on the side of effort and compatibility. But you mentioned biology earlier. What does that have to do with soulmates?
Well, this is where things get super interesting. Some researchers suggest that there might actually be biological reasons why we feel a soulmate connection with someone.
Hold on. Are you telling there's like a soulmate gene out there or
No,
something?
no, not quite a soulmate gene. But research says we might be subconsciously drawn to people with similar DNA or even similar immune systems. For example, studies have shown that people tend to be attracted to people who have different MHC genes, and those genes are related to our immune systems, which actually makes sense if you think about it from like an evolutionary perspective,
Mhm.
because it means that your offspring will have more diverse genes and be more resistant to diseases.
Okay, I'll admit, I never really thought about attraction on the level of the immune system. So even our biology could be playing a role in who we're drawn to. But it's not all destiny. We still have a choice in who we end up with.
Oh, absolutely. It seems like there's this back and forth between nature and nurture and our choices. When it comes to those really deep connections, we might have some predispositions, but we get to choose who we really invest in and build a relationship with. And speaking of choice, that brings us to a really important part of this soulmate debate. Are there any downsides to always trying to find the one?
Yeah, that's a good question. That seems like if you're constantly looking for the perfect soulmate, you're probably going to have some pretty unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, you're right. No relationship is perfect, even if it feels like destiny when you first meet. And holding on to that perfect image of a soulmate can actually make you disappointed.
Yeah, I can see that. If you expect a relationship to be effortless with no conflicts at all, you're going to have a rough time.
Exactly. And not only that, but you might miss out on some great relationships just because they don't fit that perfect soulmate mold.
That's a really good point. So even if we feel that super intense soulmate-like connection, it's important to remember that real relationships take effort and compromise, and you had to be willing to work through challenges together.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's all about finding that balance between the romantic ideal and the reality of building a strong relationship that lasts.
So we've covered a lot of ground already. History, psychology, even biology. It's like we're putting together all these different perspectives to understand the super complex idea of soulmates. But I'm curious, what else do our sources say about the problems with always trying to find the one?
Remember that ancient Greek myth we were talking about earlier, the one where humans were split in half? It's a captivating story. But it also makes us think that we're incomplete without our other half, and that can lead to some pretty unrealistic expectations in a relationship.
You mean like expecting our partner to solve all our problems or like fulfill all our needs.
Yeah, exactly. No one can be everything for us. We're all individuals with our own strengths and weaknesses and, needs. And if you put that much pressure on someone else to complete you, it's just going to lead to disappointment. It puts way too much pressure on the relationship.
It's like you're putting them on a pedestal
Yeah.
and setting them up to fail
Yeah.
because no one can live up to that.
Exactly. And then when your expectations aren't met, it can lead to resentment and conflict and ultimately damage the relationship.
So instead of always looking for someone to complete us, maybe we should try to find someone who complements us, someone who brings out our best and helps us grow.
I love that. It changes how we think about relationships. Instead of focusing on what we're missing, it's a celebration of two people coming together. It's about realizing that a healthy relationship is about two whole people, choosing to share their lives and helping each other grow.
And that growth often means dealing with problems together.
Right?
We talked about this already. No relationship is perfect. And even if you feel like you found your soulmate, you're still going to have some bumps in the road.
Oh, absolutely. Those challenges can actually make your connection even stronger and help you grow, both as individuals and as a couple. It's not about avoiding disagreements. It's about learning how to work through them in a healthy way.
So you're saying that instead of thinking a disagreement means the relationship is over, we can see it as a chance to learn more about ourselves and our partner, and a chance to practice our communication skills and become better at resolving conflict.
You got it. It's about changing our mindset from, this isn't meant to be, to, how can we work through this together? That's where those growth beliefs are so important.
It seems like finding that balance between the romantic idea of a soulmate and the reality of building a strong relationship is the key.
I agree. We can still believe in that magical feeling of connection, but we can't forget that a strong partnership takes work and effort.
It's like we're combining all these different ideas, history, psychology, biology, even a little philosophy, to really understand what it means to find a soulmate.
And when we do that, we start to question some of those beliefs about love and relationships. Like the idea that there's only one right person out there for each of us.
Which is a pretty limiting belief if you think about it. It stops us from seeing how great other people could be and from appreciating all the unique things that different people bring to a relationship.
Exactly. It can also make dating really stressful and anxiety-inducing. Like we're always on this desperate search for that one perfect person who's going to magically make us happy.
Instead of focusing on building real connections with people who share our values and interests and challenge us to grow and who are willing to work with us to build something special.
You're so right. Love and relationships are a journey, not a destination. And that journey, with all its ups and downs, can be just as fulfilling, if not more so, than reaching some perfect endpoint.
I love that. It's about enjoying the ride, the ups and the downs, and growing together along the way.
And who knows, maybe that's the real magic of the soulmate connection. Not finding someone who completes us, but choosing to go on that journey of growth and discovery together. But what about those people who do experience that super strong, undeniable connection? The ones who feel like they really have found their soulmate?
That's a great question. If you do find that kind of deep connection, does that mean you found the one? And everything will be perfect from then on?
Well, not necessarily. Even in those soulmate-like connections, there's still room for growth and effort and, making conscious choices. Actually, those strong connections can sometimes have even bigger challenges.
Really? Why is that?
Well, when you feel so connected to someone, your heart is more open, more vulnerable, the stakes are higher, and you can get hurt more easily.
That makes sense. So even in those relationships that feel like destiny, you still need to be realistic.
Exactly. It's still important to be willing to work through things together and to realize that even the strongest connection needs to be nurtured and needs effort to keep it going.
Yeah. So it sounds like finding a soulmate doesn't automatically mean you'll live happily ever after, but it's more like the start of a journey. That needs communication and vulnerability and a willingness to grow both as individuals and as a couple.
I think that's a really good way to put it. It means that even if we don't believe in predestined soulmates, we can still build deep and meaningful connections with the people we choose to love.
This has been a really interesting conversation. It feels like our idea of soulmates has changed from something black and white to something much more complex.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious about something. Do our sources say anything about how to actually build those deep connections, whether or not we believe in soulmates? So much of what we've talked about today makes it seem like strong relationships are built, not just found. Do any of our sources give any advice on how to build that kind of deep connection?
They do, and it goes back to something we were discussing earlier, those growth beliefs. One of our sources talked about approaching relationships with the idea that they're about growth and learning,
Yeah.
not about expecting everything to be perfect right away.
So instead of looking for the flawless, predestined soulmate, we should try to find someone who inspires us to be better people.
That's it. It's about finding someone who helps us learn and grow and evolve as individuals and as a couple. It takes the pressure off of finding the one
Mm.
and lets us focus on building something meaningful together, even if there are some bumps along the way.
I really like that change in perspective. It makes relationships seem more exciting. But how do we know if we found someone who's really on the same page?
That's where shared values are important. Our sources say that it's crucial to find someone who shares your core beliefs and goals.
That makes a lot of sense. If you and your partner have totally different ideas about family or religion or life goals, it's going to be a lot harder to create a future together.
Exactly. When you share the same values, you have that foundation of understanding and respect and support. And those are all so important for a strong relationship that lasts.
So it's not just about being with someone who's fun
Mm.
or who checks all the boxes on your list. It's about finding someone who wants the same things for the future and who wants to work towards that future with you.
Exactly. And when you go on that journey together with all the ups and downs, the good times and the challenges, that's where the real magic happens. When you work through problems together, support each other's dreams, celebrate each other's successes, that's when you build a really special connection.
It seems like that deep soulmate connection, that feeling of truly belonging with someone,
Hmm.
isn't something you just find by chance. You have to actually work for it.
I agree. It's about making the choice to invest in a relationship, to put in the effort to make it grow. It's not about reaching some final goal. It's about the process.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. I feel like we've gone from thinking about soulmates as a simple idea to
Yeah.
something much more nuanced and complicated.
I agree. And I think the most important thing we've learned is that we have a choice. We have the power to choose who we connect with and to invest in those connections and to build the kind of love we want in our lives.
That's a really great message. It reminds us that we're not just waiting around for love to happen. We can actually make it happen.
Exactly. And that's something to remember whether you believe in soulmates or not. We all have the power to connect with others, to love, and to build meaningful relationships.
That's a perfect way to end our deep dive into the world of soulmates. We've talked about ancient myths and psychology and biology, and we've even questioned some of our most basic beliefs about love.
And what we've discovered is that the journey of love and connection is always changing. It's full of surprises and challenges, but it's also incredibly rewarding.
So to everyone listening, whether you're looking for your soulmate or just trying to make your relationship stronger, remember that you have the power to make those relationships amazing.
Go out there, be yourself, put your heart into it, and never stop believing in the power of love.
That's all for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.